I want you to imagine a Tarzan movie that captures the epic feel of an Edgar Rice Burroughs novel. I'm talking armies fighting it out in the jungle and in giant lost cities, and Tarzan charging into battle with an entire tribe of Wazari warriors at his back. Tarzan with Jad-Bal-Ja, the golden lion, at his side. This movie, my friends, this movie does exist. It is called Tarzan and the Golden Lion, came out in 1927. And it absolutely captures the iconic imagery and the epic feel that you're going to find in a lot of the Edgar Rice Burroughs novels. And it also has some really stupid stuff like Tarzan's sister in it. Let's talk about it. So let's talk about what Tarzan and the Golden Lion is. It is a Burroughs novel that came out several years before the movie. It involves a lion, of course, named Jad-Bal-Ja, who becomes Tarzan's faithful companion throughout the novels. That's in the movie. There is a group of villains who are looking to plunder the treasures of Opar, and they have a Tarzan impersonator called Esteban Miranda with them. And there's a city of intelligent gorillas that have enslaved the local natives, and it's rich in diamonds, and the gorilla worship this lion that they sacrifice the natives to. And, you know, basically they just let the lion eat the natives, and that's their sacrifice. This has changed a bit in the movie. The gorillas have been changed out for normal humans. And I think this was a good call on their part, because while the technology on the ape and gorilla costumes has grown leaps and bounds since that original Tarzan of the Apes movies, it just wasn't quite to the point where they could have sold a race of intelligent gorillas as one of the main villains of the movie. So I think it was a good idea to recast that city as being run by humans. The story for it isn't much, and it's kind of nonsensical. It's something about there's three clever white men that control the superstitious natives, but that's never explained. And one of these white men is an 8-foot-tall Asian dude. I guess they weren't real particular about the casting, but you're not really there for the story. This is a movie, you know, you're really there for the spectacle. And that's a really good thing, because the movie is a little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to story, at least the way it starts. You've got the Wazari doing this dance and celebration of a hunt, which is really cool, but then the text says that they're celebrating the fact that they killed a bear in Africa, in the jungle. And also in the opening, we see this really epic procession through the jungle carrying two women. And we find out one is Tarzan's wife, Jane, who doesn't really appear that much. And then the other is the female who will be the main female protagonist for this movie, Tarzan's sister, Betty Greystoke. Oh, there are so many issues with this. First of all, Greystoke is not a last name. Second of all, it may, you know, be a knee-jerk reaction. Oh, okay, Tarzan has a sister. But think about it. Tarzan's parents died when he was a baby. This looks like a younger sister. That would be physically impossible because, again, his parents died when he was a baby. If it's an older sister, then why didn't Tarzan's parents take her with them to Africa? And if they didn't take her to Africa, then who did they leave her with? Who's been raising her? Where's she been all this time? So I've got two theories on why Tarzan has a sister in this movie. I mean, first of all, it seems to be a recasting of a role in the novel that was originally a character. I think it was Flora Hawkes or something like that. And the reimagined here as Tarzan's sister, probably just to give the character a little more impact and a little more notoriety. My theory is probably, since this is a new version of Tarzan, every Tarzan movie does its own thing and aren't connected to any of the others, or all kind of their own continuity, that they were like, well, maybe Tarzan's backstory is a little different. We'll just give him a sister. My second theory or thought is that basically they thought the audience wouldn't sweat the details. And they're probably right about this. I mean, we got to remember that in the novels, Burroughs forgot how old Korak would be at various points. So, it had him appearing as an adult when he should have been a child, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not like this doesn't happen with storytelling, especially back then. And honestly, it is a movie. Again, we're there for the spectacle. You're there to see the performances. You're there to see, how charismatic or attractive the actors and actresses are. And again, how well they perform on the screen. You're there for the spectacle. You're there for the music. A story that makes sense is a good bonus, but it's just not needed. I mean, if that was a vital requirement for a movie, Spider-Man No Way Home would have flopped. Again, we're there for how that movie makes us feel. And I gotta say, with this movie, it is awe-inspiring. Again, it really does capture kind of the epic imagery. The Wazari are here in all of their glory. There are so many scenes where Tarzan is leading them into battle, and it's just really epic. There's so many hundreds of extras that flesh out the Lost City, that flesh out the Wazari. Again, big battles in the jungle. Tarzan is played by James Pierce, who really does look like the role. I mean, he's got a great physique. He's got a great look about him. Now, unfortunately, the makeup and costume and stuff do fail him a bit. At least according to the modern viewer, that outfit kind of looks like Fred Flintstone. The makeup he's got, the black lipstick and stuff just looks weird. His hair is a bit short for my taste, but he does have that look about him that he is a very passable Tarzan, both in the Fred Flintstone outfit and in the three-piece suit he wears in his Lord Greystoke scenes. The rest of the cast works well. One thing I do like about Jane in this movie, even though she does get less play, she's less likely to faint or get super freaked out over bad things happening, which is kind of cool. Jane should probably be a little used to stuff at this point. For our villains, we've reimagined Esteban Miranda as kind of this master villain who's looking to loot Tarzan's estate and then decides to go loot this lost city of diamonds instead. He does end up in a Tarzan outfit impersonating him, but it makes a bit less sense than it did in the novels. Boris Karloff is in there as a renegade Wazari, who's part of the villains. He is in blackface, and as far as I can tell, this is probably the only instance of that in this era, at least that I noticed. It's kind of hard to make some of this stuff out because the films get so deteriorated in some instances. But I don't know why they decided to cast a white guy in this particular role. I'm not going to speculate. It is a very minor role. There are some DVDs that have him co-starring in this movie, but they did not know that Boris Karloff would go on to be one of the best-known actors of the time. This is before Frankenstein, so it's a very minor role. Tarzan doesn't get to fight him as much as we would love to see Tarzan kick Frankenstein's ass. It doesn't happen in this particular film. And let's talk about the real star of the movie, Jad-Bal-Ja, the Golden Lion. All of his scenes just really, really pop, and it's just hard for me to put into words how amazing it is and how iconic it is to actually see him on the big screen beside Tarzan. There's just such an air of power at the fact that Tarzan has this giant lion by his side. It is really incredible, and it's just not something you can really replicate with anything other than a real lion. However, when Jad-Bal-Ja attacks somebody, then that is a fake lion, and it is fairly obvious. However, I don't mind this because this is the first Tarzan movie in this era that survived that I am aware of where no human or animal was hurt or killed in. So while it is really spectacular seeing a human being fighting a lion, I would prefer everyone on set to be safe. And honestly, I think it is actually more impressive to see the lion like standing there and taking commands from Tarzan. There are other animals in the movie. The villains in the Lost City use little monkeys as lookouts, which is kind of cute. apes appear, they're very small. And there's a scene in the novel where one of Tarzan's friends is killed by the Tarzan imposter, and it's put in here. It's really odd out of context. And I think it was meant to kind of tug at the heartstrings with these like cute little apes. It comes off weird, but it probably worked a lot better for audiences at the time. And the final battle in the Lost City, which by the way looks amazing, the city is just very impressive, is great. I mean, it very much has kind of that climactic modern feel to it. I mean, it is a absolute third act finisher, and it's just fantastic. It's the sort of thing I've always wanted to see in a Tarzan movie, and never knew that they actually ever did it. And it's really impressive. I love the final scene. The final shot is just really epic with Jad-Bal-Ja and Tarzan and the Wazari. And it's just everything you've ever wanted to see in a Tarzan movie as far as the iconic epic imagery goes. And so, yeah, even though the stories may be a little dumb and a little rough, this is a good movie. This is a really good way to spend an hour of your time, especially if you're a fan of the Burroughs novels. It's just so cool to see this stuff actually on the screen. I got the Grapevine video version of it. They tint it and all this stuff to help you see the movie, because, these are old movies and they've deteriorated over time. But it is also available in other ways from various other folks too. However you watch it, definitely recommend Tarzan and the Golden Lion. And it really, really showed the potential that you had with adapting the Burroughs novels on the big screen. But we're not done with the movie adaptations just yet. We've got one more left, and in my opinion, it's the best one that was ever done. And it's one of my favorite Tarzan movies of all time. And so next time, join me for a review of a movie that adapted Tarzan and the Jewels of Opar, and we'll also be taking a look at what I would consider to be a head-scratching debate over who plays La of Opar in this movie. So next time, join us for a review of Tarzan the Tiger. See ya.